make sure that you're still doing the best thing on average. And for this week, the Handlock list from Lamby does include that Royal Librarian, which I want to call out as a tech card that a lot of people are running in a lot of different lists these days, probably in response to the rise in popularity of Paladin, which loves to buff up their minions.
Yeah, exactly. He saw the lines. He is a self-confessed, very good pattern seer, as he apparently solved Squid Game after 2 episodes, if you can believe it. And yeah, that's what he tweeted out. Currently being 4 episodes in myself, I don't know what he could have guessed. I'm terrible at guessing movie and TV plots, but it just further exemplifies the awe that I have for lambyseries as a person.
Well, we do have offer Lamby's mental game and also for Gur's haircut and drip this week.
Oh, yeah.
Looking very, very fresh. Love to see it. And this hand is looking pretty good as well. He has the Swindle, the Shroud of Concealment, and the Field Contact. Really only waiting for an Octobot before he pops off. I'm a bit surprised to not see the Prep Shroud, though. Maybe he wants to do it all together with Swindle next turn. Because if he does go Prep Shroud, it does kind of become awkward how you want to combo out the Swindle, unless you want to use the coin for little value.
Yeah, there's always the consideration that you can go for, Field Contact Prep Swindle, because that, of course, factors in an extra card draw. But given that he's got the Octobot now, I think he's going about it the right way. Even if he was trying to save Swindle for the same turn as Contact, now you just want to corral as many cards as you can at one turn and then go for a big Field Contact turn. And as you can see, he's going for the line you were advocating for anyway, and it puts him in a very juicy looking position.
Oh yes, look at this. He will be able to discount the second Octobot as well. In terms of the fuel he actually gets though, because I assume he'd have to use Ethereal Aug Merchant to get discounts. It's only 2 battle cries at the moment, so he's not forced to go in with it next turn. But with the Kazakas to follow up the curve, I do favor just proccing the Octobot. Get going.
Absolutely. And are you saying you'd still rather do it with the Aug Merchant than the Prize Plunderer?
It could be either. I think a lot of Garrote Rogue players disagree with me in that I'm so willing to use the first Aug Merchant, which is fair, so go ahead and use that. I also have to take a look at Lamby's Handlock list because a lot of people are running one of Altar of Fire or 2 of, like Alan these days, so that can be another reason that you don't want to use Ethereal all willy-nilly. Lamby happens to not have that though.
Yeah, he's going with the 0 list. He's instead going with the slightly heavier removal package, right? With an extra Hysteria slotted in there as well. And of course the Royal Librarian that we've talked about, which probably won't come up too relevant in this matchup, either the Hysteria or the Librarian. Really just, you would hope for an Altar of Fire, just to try and burn some key removal pieces. But here we go. The turn for Gur, the big draw turn, and very possibly ending with a Shadow Step on the Contact to continue the draw. A tough choice here, actually, in all honesty. I think I'm leaning towards Springwater, just because having any extra card draw is so valuable to get through to your combo quicker. But he does go with the Fire Sale in the end.
Interesting. I do agree with Springwater, especially since Fire Sale, even though you can look at it as a draw card, it does mess with Kazakus a little bit. Maybe he can just maneuver the Kazakus to be played before he shuffles back Fire Sale at any point. But the Fire Sale as a draw effect is not actually thinning your deck towards your win condition. It's just kind of giving you a reroll on a card. Whereas the Springwater, even though you oftentimes miss on the mana refresh, it is guaranteed 2 cards out of the deck. With Gur's plays, he obviously feels like he doesn't have that much time, and with this outcome of the Penflinger, it does work out very nicely.
That's true. And also, Tradable does have that added benefit, as you very cleverly found out during our testing session, that you can just trade it into all your Garrotes later, or all your Bleeds later, right? And you won't redraw the tradable card until you've drawn all of those. So potentially, Gur could go for very aggressive Field Contacts, maybe even use both of them to draw his whole deck, and not even do the combo, and then in one final turn, you go for Spell Damage, trade, draw the Bleeds.
But for Lamby, it is quite awkward at the moment. He can just set up for another on next turn because he will get to 10 cards with the tap, but at the moment he doesn't have those powerful draw effects that really allow him to pop off with these 2 Baron Scavengers locked in the hand. Again, we've talked about with Handlock versus Garrote Rogue, you want to go for that one end-all be-all turn where you play all your threats, a Neophyte, or possibly even 2, which Rogue absolutely cannot deal with. And if they're not able to kill you because of the Neophytes, then you just kill them with that pressure. Lamby still a ways off from achieving that, but at least the Flesh Giant is starting to get a bit cheaper now. Gur, I don't think this is necessarily another field contact turn. He can take a turn off with the Kazakus and then just discount the 1-cost Golem as well with the other Octobot and possibly draw to the end of his deck next turn.
Okay, that's reasonable. I was going to say, actually, I didn't mind the field contact turn here because you could go for the play of, like, play the Octobot on this turn and then play some of your 1-mana cards and then proc the Octobot to discount the cards you draw rather than necessarily the 1-cost cards in hand. But like you said, going for one massive setup turn where you draw a million cards is very powerful, but also a little susceptible. Neophyte can make this at least a little bit tougher for Gur if you're putting all your eggs in one basket for next turn.
Yeah. He gets Rush Freeze. That's a decent battle cry to get versus Handlock, but against this type of board from Lamby, it's actually even better, right? Because he's not able to play more than 2 threats at the moment. And so even if one of them sticks and the other gets frozen, he can't threaten the lethal with the Battlegrounds Battlemaster. Gur is going to go in now, though. I expect that the Octobot is going to get procced first. Or maybe not. Okay.
Yeah, like I was saying, you can kind of play a couple of your 1-cost cards first, right? And then discount more cards off the top. Because I don't think mana is honestly his biggest restraint on this turn. It's more board space almost. I don't even know. There are no real restrictions on this turn. It's just looking really good for Gur.
Yeah, well, when every draw effect is 1 card for 1 card, right, you are essentially discounting the same amount of cards.
Yes.
But with this play, Gur is essentially saying, I can still save the Octobot for later, maybe when I'm actually getting the combo done together. Because with my play, if you discount everything first with the Octobot and the 0-cost Aug Merchant, if you miss on actually getting the lethal or at least this guaranteed setup for the next turn, then you're in some kind of trouble because you do lose your best receiver for spell damage minions. So right here, Gur, I think, was just hoping to find the second field contact by the end of his turn. Reasonable assumption, but he doesn't get it. So there is going to be kind of a problem next turn if Lamby can just deal with this field contact. But at the moment, he has only Hysteria to do that for sure.
And Gur going for a very interesting game plan, getting both minions down to 3 health, which, as you said, maybe factors in Hysteria. I was kind of thinking, in all honesty, that the fact that the Anetheron doesn't die to Soul Rend is kind of good for Gur, because then it can't be raised deaded afterwards as well. But either way, Hysteria is there to clear up the field contact very, very cleanly.
Yeah, lambyseries starting off with that before he taps just to see how the outcome works out. I'd say that's about average. It hits 1 thing from Gur and then 1 thing from Lamby. I do think this probably ends up being a tap turn here, because I think just Neophyte is not winning Lamby the game necessarily, because he's not able to, even if he disrupts, say, a lethal next turn with Neophyte now, he's not able to do that again the next turn and put down enough threats, in my opinion. But Lamby disagrees. He's going to go for 1 Neophyte now. It kind of works if he can get something like Backfire off the top, so then he can still pop off. But without the tap weaved in, it's, of course, a bit less likely to see it by then.
I think this is good enough. This is, I think, good spacing of his Neophytes, because that's, while we've been obviously focusing on Gur's game plan more, the one thing that Lamby has done very well is hold his Neophytes for these key late game turns, because now it makes things obviously an awful lot more awkward for Gur. He can go for a secret passage turn, but he has 10 cards in hand, so you have to be very careful about that. He can go for, I suppose, just Fire Sale to clear the board, although that feels like massive overkill in terms of your mana. You can draw with the Swindle, but in the end, he's just clearing a card, going with the passage. 8 cards in hand right now, and only 3 mana left over.
That's a bit awkward. Honestly, I was thinking that if you're going for a passage turn, you should leave yourself 4 mana available so that if you get field contact Shadow Step, you can put the contact back in your hand, because that's really the only piece that Gur is missing right now. If he draws contact at any point, I think he has guaranteed lethal with the Octobot still left in his hand and the amount of battle cries. But the secret passage does allow him to dump 1 card. I don't know if that's good enough. I'd honestly be tempted to dump the prep as well, even though he's not really getting extra value from it. I just want Gur to find this contact.
Yeah, it's the only thing that's stopping him from winning the game now. And finally, even with the Raise Dead at 1 mana, Lamby can start to do some pretty powerful plays. I guess you could still actually consider Soul Rend on this turn, right? To activate both your Baron Scavengers, but you're not really putting that much more pressure than you actually would with just, say, a Flesh Giant on this turn, off of the Raised Dead, potentially.
And it looks like he is going for the Tamsin Raised Dead. Very cool interaction you can do when your opponent plays Neophyte. So he gets to play 2 Raised Deads if he wants to. It's a little bit expensive though. I think it's fine because you're still cheapening the Giant by 1 mana, so it's decent. But the thing is, he might not necessarily be able to play that many threats with a Neophyte. So he's taking 1 turn off potentially from doing the big board plus Neophyte. I guess it's still quite a lot, right, with the Knoll? Because he gets this quest too. So you can go Giant, Knoll, Neophyte, and leave a 2-1 on the other side of the board. It's not necessarily threatening lethal, but it's threatening Battle Master for lethal.
Exactly, yeah. It's forcing Gur to do something on this turn. You can't just leave this around and hope to win, especially as you know there's a very good chance that you're going to be hit with another Neophyte on the following turn with all these many Raised Deads that have been knocking about. A cool turn by lambyseries and a clever realization, one of the coolest interactions that we have here. Remaining cards, nicely done by Gur. Obviously, it's that field contact that we're looking for. But Fire Sale that he has here in combination with
Windle, maybe? Just call that your turn. He only needs 8 power on board. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, means he's pretty likely to find the field contact again this turn. There we go.
There it is. And so now he has all the pieces needed to do the big pop-off. If you start with Octo and 0 cost Og Merchant for the proc, you still have 3 battle cries in hand, so you can guaranteed get to the bottom of your deck and play the Garrots and the Penflinger will return. So he has guaranteed lethal, but now let's see how much disruption Lamby can put together. Only 1 Neophyte in hand right now, doesn't find another Raised Dead, so that's the most he can do.
Yeah, no coil to draw an extra card to play all the scavengers as well. It's just over. Even with a Neophyte effect, it's just... I think you'll have mana spare, honestly, Gur, at the end of the turn. It's so cleanly lethal with all the discounts you get, and just means that it was a very cleanly set up game by Gur. ABC, Hearthstone, this was about as... correct, as prim and proper of a rogue game as you can get. Nothing fancy played, but nothing fancy needed either.
Yeah, I think so indeed. With the Shadow Step drawn right on time as well, he can get the 2 spell damage he needs. I think he'll have 1 mana spare at the end of this, given that you spend 1 mana on the Octobot, 2 mana on the field contact, and then 4 mana on the Garrots, right?
I think it might have even more than that. It might have 2 spare. Either way, it's a million. It's always lethal here. Gur is not messing this up anytime soon. We've come a long way here in Asia Pacific. No longer do we rope or blunder our rogue lethals, as Gur shows us a gorgeous game. Loved what we saw there, and it bodes well for the future of this series for him. Obviously, it's Conquest, so the rogue is done. He doesn't get to queue it again, as he would have been able to last week in Last Hero Standing. And so that obviously means that it's a nice win for Gur, but it is the rogue that he got to win with. It's probably the strongest deck in the metagame right now. And so it's big, but there's still very much chances for Lamby to turn this around now that the rogue is ticked off.
I think that was just very cleanly done in the way that Gur realized that there were moments where he could just clear enough of Lamby's ward that he was guaranteed to survive the next turn. No need to rush into a field contact that wasn't guaranteed, a lethal that wasn't guaranteed. Those are the spots that have tripped up Garrot players from every region, and especially APAC. And I want to highlight specifically the pick on the Fire Sale, which I didn't really see the point of. I've always kind of thought that's just a card to keep not really cycling, but maybe give you a reroll on something to get you further card draw potentially. But the way Gur used it here was to buy himself a whole extra turn. It's not often that you get to maneuver Handlock in a position where enough of their minions get killed by the Fire Sale, but maybe Gur had the read that it was more of a Knoll heavy hand compared to a Flesh Giant heavy hand from lambyseries. And the fact that Gur was putting down these small threats in the meantime, kind of putting Lamby on having Soul Rend as the only option for a full clear, it means that the Knoll is likely to lose some HP and the Fire Sale can clean up. I think it was nice foresight there, and it does put Gur ahead with the 1-0 lead.
It does, yeah. And like you said, with maneuvering the Warlock minions, I think Gur actually did that very well. I was a little bit hesitant when he traded into the Netheron and the Flesh Giant to bring them both down to 3 health. But it meant that even though he didn't end up using the the Fire Sail on the following turn, he had the opportunity to. And no matter what was developed, even if it was a Neophyte hand, still there would have been the possibility to clear for Gur on the following turn. So just very, very clean throughout. Nothing that we can really pick up on, I think, at that point. And it means he is now moving over to the Libram Secret Paladin. A little bit different to some of the other decks. I was playing a bit of Possessi's Paladin in testing this week, which was the non-secret version, relying on Mutinous for disruption in the late game, rather than secrets for disruption in the early game. And I think, in all honesty, that's going to help him in these early turns. The secrets can be really annoying for Warlock if you get off to an aggressive start.
Yeah, that is very true. So many decks in the meta right now want to play 3 cards in a turn or even more, particularly Garrote Rogue and OTK Demon Hunter. And a lot of decks don't have spells to spare in the sense that they're happy to get rid of that into an Oh My Yogg. It can be very inconvenient for Warlock if they don't have access to their small removal tools like Touch of the Nathrism. Lamby here on the play, so there's no chance for Gur to try and mess around with Galloping Savior on 1. But he does have a pretty good Libram curve with the Attendant off the top and a Truth Seeker to be coined out on turn 4.
Man, they've both got pretty spicy curves. For Lamby, you would be, I think, tempted to go with Neophyte here just to contest a minion. But when you have Backfire and a Netheron in hand, this is a handlock game, right, that you're playing here. You are not going with the Zoo style of gameplay. You're building up and then playing one massive minion that hopefully can disrupt them enough.
That is true. The Neophyte also doesn't necessarily always challenge the 1/3. There's the threat of the Libram of Wisdom or even Hand of Adal to make the Neophyte not get a value trade there. It does mean that Gur is curving out very nicely, though, with this Hand of Adal. Man, this curve just plays itself.
Sick, isn't it? I mean, I'm definitely putting the Hand of Adal on Murga. I'm wondering if you put the Libram on as well, just like double down on a Divine Shield minion.
It could be just make that one end-all be-all threat, but I kind of like divvying up the Libram of Wisdom onto the 1/3 instead, because Libram of Wisdom is a card that you're not too sad if the minion it's on dies, right? Because you can start getting that repeated value. It's gonna cost 0 very soon, and I think Lamby is also running 1 copy of Royal Librarian, so I think spacing out your buffs can be safer in the long run.
Sounds reasonable, and Gur agrees. 3, obviously a very big break point for Warlock as well, with the Drain Soul that they're trying to do, or Mortal Coil plus Touch of the Nathrism, so 4 does make sense. This obviously looking to be the Netheron turn, probably plus a Tour Guide, because you just want to start activating these Raised Deads. Honestly, you don't care what they're giving back to you. It's just so that you can make your Flesh Giant playable, potentially next turn even.
Yep. I will say the downside of not putting the Wisdom on the Murger here makes City Tax not the cleanest clear in the world here, because you could have just gone City Tax with trade a 5-attack Murger into another one. Again, not saying it's wrong though. He can get the Libram back this turn and then just put that on the Aldor Truth Seeker instead. City Tax probably best saved together with the Libram of Justice. And the Truth Seeker coming down now means that Libram of Hope is online for turn 6 as well. Everything's coming up Gur, but Lamby now with a full hand can start getting some things done. Raised Dead guaranteed to get another on.
And so with that 0 mana tap, Flesh Giant actually already playable at 5 mana, which opens up a lot of possibilities. Because as you said, we've got a Netheron available to come down as well. Clearing out hand space with Tour Guide, then the Raised Dead. That means a Netheron and Flesh Giant playable on this turn. 1 mana off, but the Raised Dead means that you can still do that as well. Oh my god.
Yeah. I think you can still Raise Dead and have... oh, sorry. Yeah, he's at 9 right now, so he can start Raise Dead, right? And still just get another on Tour Guide. So now he can choose between another on and a Neophyte too, or just Flesh Giant. But yeah, Flesh Giant eventually costs 0, so definitely going for another on here. And perhaps the most abusable aspect of Paladin is its lack of overt burst damage. They're very much focused on board, and they can get damage from buffs, I suppose, from hand, but not the big hitters like the Battle Master. That's not in the deck, right? It's just a couple of weapons here, and for Gur's list in particular, there's not even the Libram of Weapon. Libram of Fight. I'm so sorry.
Libram of Judgment, yes.
Yes.
Libram of Weapon. That's much better. I much prefer that. Yes, it does mean that it's a little bit awkward this turn. You can obviously go with Sword of the Fallen plus Northwatch is where my head is at first of all.
Yeah, I think he was looking for the Libram of Justice here. Possible to get that from the Knight of Anointment, and it would have cost just 2 at that point, but misses, so he can't go for the big clear with the city tax. Instead, going to get the secret down, going to ignore the Anotherons because there wasn't a way he could kill them without face tanking. Well, I guess he could have played city tax, but he would have to trade his minion anyway, which is quite awkward. He is never dead here, even if there is Battlegrounds Battlemaster, because Lamby did not have mana to do everything.
That does get a little bit spicy now, though, and Lamby, his Handlock game plan is finally taken over.
Wait, he does have lethal now. I forgot about the health. Then,
you're right, it survives.
Yeah.
It's just lethal.
And he's played 0 cards so far, so he's not going to proc the Galloping Savior because of the 3 health left. Isn't it just lethal? Oh no!
I mean, Gia, I missed it too. I also assumed it wasn't lethal with the taunt in the way, but it just was.
Yeah. He did nothing else but tap that turn, so the Galloping Savior would not proc. He was not going to play a spell, so it was always going to go off the Battlegrounds Battlemaster. If you trade into a taunt, you can still go face with the other attack. So he essentially had 32 points of damage here. Only 24 needed to go face, and he could do that with 3 attacks. Gur was at 23, but he's just alive now. I wonder if it makes enough of a difference, because he's obviously still in a terrible spot without the Libram of Justice, though.
Yeah, you don't have any way. I mean, sorry, obviously you can trade the city tax if you wanted to, which, I mean, if you did hit on the Libram of Justice, then that would be okay, I suppose.
Instead,
but in the end,
the
most defensive play.
Less optimistic play, which I honestly don't know if it's good enough here. I'm trying to look for a lethal again. This time the taunt is big, right? So no minion can actually attack twice if one attack goes into the taunt, which makes this a little bit more awkward. Lamby also does not have access to just tapping to get down to the 10-card breakpoint. So it looks like he is just going to go for a Goldshire Knoll type play with this. Unstable Shadow Blast. He does have lethal again, but that would be 3 cards played, so now the taunt is in the way, right?
Right.
Because what you would think here is to go Goldshire Knoll to get rid of the Divine Shield, and then probably 6/6 and Shadow Blast to get rid of the 9/9. But because of the 3/4 Galloping Savior that would come out by that point, you can't send 24 points of damage face. So instead, he is just going to do the same play because it's still strong, even if it's not lethal.
Yeah, he of course also didn't know if it was actually Yogg or the horse at that point, so it could have just been the Shadow Blast gets changed into something else, and then the Tamsin is pretty much useless anyway. Some horrible trades. Close your eyes as the Netheron goes into a 1 health minion there, or a very low health minion. But either way, damage coming through, still forcing an answer from Gur, which currently is not there.
And he has not a great opportunity to draw anymore, right? Because the Northwatch Commander and the Bannerman, they both draw minions. They're not drawing him Libram of Justice. And if you trade away the city tax to try and find Libram of Justice, you don't have your best procker after the Libram of Justice. But I still think it's the play, because at least the 1/1s can get rid of the 8/1 and 6/6 by that point, or you face tank the 6/6, and the other 1/1 can go in the 8/1 Netheron in that world.
Well, what happens if you just play Libram of Hope, though? You go up to 17 on that turn.
You have a 1/1 to get rid of the Divine Shield. I think you're dead.
It sucks. but I think you would technically be alive because you can bring it up to 9 health. But Gur goes for the risky play of trying to find the clear, misses, and lambyseries gets the win. Bit of a shaky one, I will admit, with that miss lethal, as you spotted, very nicely done, as I don't know if I necessarily would have caught that myself, so I can't put the blame on Lamby for that one. But aside from that, I think his game plan was very much spot on. He was playing the hand he was dealt the way it's supposed to be played.
That's right, prioritizing the taps rather than playing Neophyte on curve. That's yet another kind of nuance to playing Handlock. I think you might change that around depending on whether you're facing aggro or even Demon Hunter with Glide, for example. But in this world where the Paladin doesn't even have Mutinous for disruption, it just makes sense to keep drawing as fast as you can. Make sure you can get down to the 0-cost Flesh Giants, get down to the 1-cost Anetheron, and Lamby playing the back-to-back Anetherons with the Raise that just created this insurmountable force of pressure that he put towards Gur here. Gur didn't have access to the Librum of Justice, but even if he did, I don't think he was that close to being able to close out the game either, because again, Paladin doesn't have very much burst. Lamby very realistically then could have just gotten to 10 cards, healed all the way back up with his Bristle Brutes, and put together the next wave. It is just quite strong for Handlock when they have time to get to that point. But now Gur is going to switch off from the Paladin, and he's going to the Elemental Shaman instead, the strangest deck of the lineup if you asked me, but one that you were saying was farming you on ladder.
Yeah, it did. It beat me on the Rogue, I believe, that I was playing at the time. But I do still think that this should be a fantastic matchup for Rogue. If you're doing any of the similar things that you're doing against Face Hunter, that you're doing against Shadow Priest back in the day, I think it does that well. And then there's still burst, but there's limited burst available in this list. You have Alakir plus Whack-A-Mole Hammer, which can be 11. Fire Elementals, the weapons, obviously, Gyre Worm. Like, there is burst here, but it does have to get bored in the first few turns. It can't just get there 30 or 25 to 0 before Rogue is killing you. And I think, on average, the Rogue should be just about good enough to be able to lock down that board in those first few turns. Because, again, if you look at the starting curve, there's actually relatively few good plays that you can play at the start of the game. There's 4 good 1-drops, 4 good 2-drops. That's not many, and you do need to be hitting them, I think, to have a chance against... apologies, what is Quest Rogue anyway, rather than Garrote Rogue, as the matchup that we did play in testing, and did again actually seem kind of close, and the relative lack of burn again hurt the Elemental Shaman in this matchup. Apologies for the mix-up.
That's okay, Darek. It feels like we've stepped into a time machine. Anyway, back to United and Stormwind. Day 1, when Quest Rogue was very, very popular because it just seemed like the easiest quest to complete among all of them, and especially with the Quest Shaman and the Warlock Quest nerf now, I feel like it still holds that title. You get scabs pretty early compared to all the other quest decks, but the problem with it was that it was deemed to be so one-dimensional in that your game plan really relies on getting scabs, that if your opponent has a deck that can deal with a big stealth minion, then you don't really necessarily have a win condition. But that's not necessarily true right now. A lot of the best decks that can deal with those things have been nerfed quite a bit, and the Rogue deck is very much capable of playing for board with the power of the SI7 Assassin in particular. I think that will be huge in the matchup. Gur with a very good mid-rangey looking curve here. I wonder what his approach will be though, because I do think the 1-drops are super powerful against Quest Rogue in particular that don't have Octobot, for example, to punish you for playing a 1-mana 1/3.
In terms of this start, Menacing Nimbus is never a card that you want to keep. Like, it's bulking out the numbers. It's the it's the party at the dinner guest that makes it so you don't have an odd number of people. Like, you have to include it in your list to activate these elemental cards, but it's really not that powerful. I do agree that keeping it makes sense when you want to activate the Arid Stormer, but overall, this hand for Gur, this is kind of what I was talking about, like missing out on the 1-drop, playing a 2/2 on turn 2. It's okay, but it's not necessarily strong enough to dominate the board in these early turns and run over the Rogue.
have sworn that Vanessa had a yellow border. I was so confused for a sec. Maybe that was a visual bug. But I do agree with Lamby just playing her as a river croc here, essentially, just to make sure that he is playing for tempo. In this matchup, it is all about who can wrest away the early board. If you fall too far behind Shaman, it is a quick snowball that pressure can get to you, especially when they start putting together a little bit of burst. The gyre worms, the fire elemental can be more damage than you expect necessarily. And now Lamby with the extortion and agent here gets to have 3 minions to 0 versus Gur, which is so hard for elemental shaman to come back from.
It really is, and just look at this. As long as he gets any kind of a playable spy gadget, which he does with the hidden gyro blade, he can go gadget plus SI7 assassin on the following turn, kill whatever comes down, keep going face as well. This is such a high pressure start.
Yeah, it's pretty much perfect here. Gur, however, does have that Forgeborn in play, so all of the it was played, so all of the elementals are a bit cheaper now. So he can start doing, I guess, more powerful things value for money than Lamby, but the fact that he is essentially 3 turns behind doing them might come back to bite him. I do think it is probably just Lilypad Lurker here as the most stats in play, but man, is this going to be met by a grimace when he sees this assassin.
Oi, 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 Shadow Step as well. This is getting spicy as he is getting another gadget on this turn. Obviously only needs 1 more SI7 card if you factor in the Shadow Step as well, as he's just Shadow Stepping right now again on the Operative, as I try to remember the names of all the different SI7 cards and not just call them all SI7. It means that he's able to get that quest completed very quickly, get a mole down as well, which is even better than the Gyro Blade, and just put so much pressure forward.
And you're going to see this as a common theme of Quest Rogue players, that you're going to step minions even if they don't necessarily have Battle Cry. If they have the tag SI7 on them, even if you're just healing them for 2 HP or none at all, like Lamby did for the 2 HP, it's just correct to get those stepped down so that you can complete your quest as soon as possible. Once Scabs comes down against these tempo matchups and they have 0 answer to the stealth, you very likely set up a 2-turn lethal. And now he just has tiny toys. Yeah, sign me up.
Is that good? You just like trade in your Vanessa to clear up a space and slam tiny toys? Sure, let's go. That's insane.
Yeah, the rest of his plays kind of suck here because he doesn't have enough SIs to get to Scabs. He ends up with Mazaki, which is interesting with the Wicked Stab in hand.
Not bad, is it? It's gonna get eaten up as there are many high tempo plays on this turn, probably in the form of Arid Stormer. I think the Wind Fury and Rush is very potent with all these tutus on the board.
Agreed. Also want to see Canal Slogger. The Hex Totem token here is actually very annoying for Gur. But with 3 rushing attacks and a Lightning Bolt available, he can clear the vast majority of the threatening minions. I do think the Canal Slogger goes into the operative, the mole rather than the operative.
Yeah. It's getting close, isn't it? Gur is starting to stabilize. The lifesteal here is absolutely massive, obviously, on the Canal Slogger. Winning backboard, high health value trading minions does mean that lambyseries needs to start finding that last SI card to get Scabs online. He needs that finisher right now.
Okay, with the Lightning Bolt on Wazaki, all of the additional effect cards have been cleared now, so Lamby essentially has 2 vanilla 2/2s at the moment, and that is a major brick here.
Oof.
Oy. And it kind of means he has to expend the Wicked Stab on the Canal Slogger so it doesn't get any more lifesteal.
Oh, I wonder. You can obviously go for... you could theoretically go Dagger, in order to overwrite your Gyro Blade and get the Death Rattle to kill it off. I don't think that's worth it, because I'd rather have another swing and the 3 damage next turn. Honestly, I might just give them the lifesteal here and say we're going back to a board battle.
Well, if you give them the lifesteal, that's not necessarily a board battle, right? Because you would, if it's a board battle, you would just Wicked Stab a minion here. I think.
I guess, but then you're doing 4 damage into a 2 health minion, whereas there are very likely going to be higher health minions as the game progresses.
Oh, fair. Oh, okay, so you were recommending trading both like what Lamby did. Okay,
yes, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, but I definitely agree you shouldn't be overriding the weapon here with the dagger because you actually only get net 1 more damage by saving Wicked Stab that way because you lose the 3 damage swing and it's worse in the long run as well. Lamby picks up an SI card, one of the best ones in this situation for the board, but it's a big deal that it still costs 2, right? Because the Scab is not playable. It's a whole turn pushed back from Lamby here. It might still be enough because Gur hasn't managed to deal enough damage to Lamby in the meantime though.
Lamby swinging into nothing here, which I think is fine because he's going to get another one next turn, right? Even if he doesn't get the Death Rattle on the Gyro Blade, pushing that damage. And now Gur, I mean, again, he has very powerful plays. He could go Lurker plus Firework Elemental on this turn. He's not going to be able to respond to the Scabs anyway because it's definitely going to have Stealth.
Yeah, I wonder, is it ever the Serpent Shrine portal to get rid of the Spy Mistress as well? It does float a mana, but I think that's probably better for Gur. I think his health total is so precious right now. Every point of extra damage he takes is a break point for Lamby, right? Because you very likely expect the Scabs to get at least 9 damage through because it'll be +2 attack stealth. And then Lamby is going to have 2 swings of the new 3/2 weapon, right? Which is another 6 damage.
Right.
And then he's going to have the Stealth Mole as well, which is another 2 damage, 17. So if you let the Spy Mistress hit you, it's actually a 2-turn lethal setup. Oh,
okay,
that's insane.
I mean, I was still advocating for fully clearing the board with the Firework and the Lily Pad, right?
Oh, is it corrupt right now?
Yes, yeah. And that leaves you with 1 less overload, which potentially powers up your Fireheart as you try to scramble for a Devolving Missiles to clear off the Scabs. But either way, as long as you're saving all your health total, I fully agree.
Ooh. Puts the Lightning Bolt on top, I think, which is, a relatively low value top deck for Gur. I don't mind that at all. Gonna give the Scab Stealth as an insta play. He can Fizz Flash the Lily Pad because it is not immediately playable for Gur the next turn. And in Lamby's plan, Gur's not even going to see the turn after that. But he's just going to spend his mana on the weapon instead, which works out fine.
All right, now we're going for Fireheart. We are obviously looking for, as I was saying, Devolving Missiles to clear off the Scabs. There it is as the first card. Oh, that's so clutch.
If you're Gur here, do you Lightning Bolt the 3/2 or do you send the Lily Pad Lurker into it?
Either way.
You might want to use the Lily Pad attack for something post-evolve, I think.
Okay, that's not terrible. The Mole surviving is obviously pretty good.
If he goes Vivid Spores, can he set up a 2-turn? He has 11 attack on board. He can go face for another... I mean, no, he can only push 5 face at the moment. I don't think it can quite get there. So I'd be inclined to go Nuffin here to have that 1 mana spare. Maybe play something else for Fireheart. It goes Vivid instead, though.
Yeah, I think I still like this. Like, his health total is kind of low, but it's not his biggest concern now that Scabs has been taken care of. Tidal Wave? Sure, I guess that's the one thing you're afraid of now, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, I mean, after Scabs is gone, if they haven't stealthed it, they're out of value. They are gassed out almost all the time as the quest rogue. So for Gur here, the only thing he's scared of is being burst down. So even though the title looks counterintuitive to this board state, I do agree with the pick here.
Deathmatch Pavilion, obviously not bad when you can swing with the weapon as well. Needs to find some way to answer this board right now. Kazakus is a very nice top deck though. Gia, is it 10 mana time?
It might be. Okay, regular quest rogue usually gasses out after Scabs. I forgot. I highlighted Lamby's key cards. He's running Bancrypt Kazakus. It's just that old Miracle Rogue flair that Lamby has brought back to this deck. It's 10 mana time, Derek. 100%.
Oh. Come on, Lamby. Give the people what they want.
Yeah, we're the people. Give us what we want.
Oh, he goes 5. Okay. I guess with Shadow Step, it makes some amount of sense. You can maybe play it twice on a turn if you get buff or something like that. Either way, the pickup of Tidal Wave on this turn for Gur is looking pretty genius right about now.
He steps Kazakus. There's still chance to see
possible.
what the people want, you know? Okay, well for Gur, I don't think the Tidal Wave is getting that much better than this. Also, it's the best way to prevent a buff golem from blowing him out of the water here. The Fireheart will have its death rattle at least, so while he damages his board, I don't think it's the end of the world.
Oh, it's a little tough, isn't it? Because you can put a lot of extra stats on the board if you don't play Tidal Wave. Like,
True.
Firework Alley, Whack-A-Null, you could even play the Primal Dungeoneer as well. Like, you can clear off everything as long as you're willing to take some trades.
Fair enough.
Close.
It's just so hard from Gur's position to determine whether this is a value race or a face race at the moment, because from his perspective, this could be a 10 cost golem, in which case getting that extra HP is probably trivial, right? Because you're gonna die to the big golem in 2 turns anyway, so maybe he would rather get that pressure to set up a counter lethal instead. But if it's a buff golem, it does get a bit scary. With the Serpent Shrine, he can still get rid of everything and push some damage face, so I think it's a nice halfway measure, but also the Imprisoned Felmaw is a little bit scary as another factor to account for.
I guess now he wants to save the Firework because he is afraid of 10 mana Golem, right? Because otherwise I think I would just slam down the Firework. But the Felmaw goes face on this turn, which means that with draw off the Golem, we could just hit Wicked Stab for lethal.
Uh-huh. He takes a 1 cost? He's just looking for the stab.
Okay. Lifesteal deal 3 is pretty sick here. Best target. Buffs a stealth as well. Like, unless there's healing from Gur, he is just dead on the following turn.
But the healing's there. It is absolutely there. It is 3 damage on every minion, but it's not a full board clear. Wait, so because of this taunt, you would have to trade the 5/6 first, and then you can, trade 4/2 into 3/6 and 2/5 into 5/5, and leave only the stealth, and you don't have to face tank anything with that. I think it's worth. Alternatively, can he save his lurker by using Lightning Bolt?
He can go Lightning Bolt and swing with the weapon. Like, he has to tank 5, but honestly, that seems okay.
He is at 4.
Well, you play the Tidal Wave first.
After the Tidal. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. It preserves the Lily Pad Lurker.
Brutal one for Lamby.
Yeah.
And I do think Gur is going about this in absolutely the correct way, realizing that his health total all of a sudden is not a concern really at all. He's just going for getting as many minions on board as possible, making sure he doesn't fall behind. And lambyseries' gambit here to go with 5 and 1. Very low value golems, making that push for lethal, gambling everything on the lack of healing for Gur. Could not have gone worse. The ultimate healing card in Tidal Wave was such a clutch pick.
It was, but Lamby's not dead for this turn. He actually gets the full board clear, especially with the dagger. He knows 1 card is the Terrorguard Escapee, which would give him some 1/1s.
True.
Which is, not the greatest thing for Gur to play. He also knows about 1 other generated elemental, which could be trash here. So for the meantime, it's turning into a bit of a top deck war, but we can see that Gur's quality of cards is not as bad as Lamby would have hoped.
Yeah, it's very good. We're kind of getting to the point where it is Secret Passage or bust for lambyseries if he wants to have any hope, of wrestling back this board.
Oi! Disaster. Again, he's not dead from his perspective. And yeah, even with the Gyroworm, he's not dead, right? It's 13 right now for Gur. So, talking top decks for Lamby, I agree, Secret Passage, but what are the 4 cards that can maybe help him out of this?
Extortion is efficient removal. Honestly, I don't see it. To be perfectly honest, with both Assassins gone, I don't think the tempo is there to swing things back. If those were still in the deck for 0 mana, sure, you can clear the board, swing things around. But now, I think it's just over.
I agree. Lamby went for a Gambit, which is very reasonable. It's hard for Shaman to generate healing outside of the Canal Slugger that Gur already used, or at least 1 copy of it. But that Tidal Wave pick from so long ago, Gur being patient with it and being willing to play with the odds in terms of some of the breakpoints he left himself at, and holding out for a tidal wave that was actually positive for him on board while also giving him healing was the big kicker here. There's the passage, but I think we hashed it out, Derek. There's not 4 cards. Is there 7 cards that works with second passage?
I don't see it. He's used 1 Wicked Stab already. There's still an Operative doesn't do this. He's used both SI7 agents. Yeah, he just has to try and find a miracle clear, which is not there.
Yeah, there's just not any more generation from this point. There's Extortion, there's Operative. He can get rid of 2 more minions, but if any one survives, then he is dead because he's at 1 HP. And absolutely enough minions will survive from Gur here. So Lamby's gonna give it up, and we are going to game 4. Again, everybody who's watching, this is Lamby series. He needs to win this series just to stay in Grandmasters. If he loses, he is relegated.
That's right. It's a horrible situation to be in for lambyseries, and especially as that game gave him so much hope. He had a real chance of getting there. I think his game plan to go with the 5 and the 1 on Kazakus was very reasonable. Like you said, it's unlikely that Shaman is going to be able to generate that much healing, and at all points along the way. First card devolving missiles to clear off the scabs, generating the healing as well. Like, lambyseries just got by the power of generation off of the Instructor Fireheart. And that is what did him in the end. A well-played game, I think, overall, as, who knows, 10 cost Golem. Maybe if he got, like, poison plus deal 3 to all, stealth copy, something silly like that, he could have cheesed out a lethal. But his game plan had a lot of merit as well.
Yeah, definitely did. There's so many different ways you can approach it, and we can only talk like we knew it was best because we saw exactly what Gur generated. Very much in the vein of Quest Shaman. It feels like, at least in Quest Shaman, you know you're in for a game where a lot of boxes will be open, and sometimes you do think about generated cards, but that's the same as not true against Elemental Shaman. They only have Fireheart and I guess Menacing Nimbus to get cards that didn't really start out in their deck. It's a rough one, but Lamby's not out of it just yet. There is the chance to beat Gur's Paladin twice, but it feels like a tall order, especially with the Druid for Lamby.
It does, yeah. Things could get a little bit awkward there. So many decks in the metagame struggle against big Divine Shield minions. Demon Hunters, Warlocks, although we did see lambyseries get the win with the Warlock against the Paladin earlier on. And Druid is no exception. I think maybe the one chance for Druid is to get underneath all of that big pressure from the Paladin. If they can go for an early Glowfly Swarm when there isn't a clear, an early Anaconda obviously can get the job done, especially with double Soul of the Forest in the list for lambyseries. So even if there's one of those big clears with Libram of Justice or Barov, he will be able to stick some kind of board presence and then hopefully follow up with an Arbor up to close out the game. So still very real chances for Lamby, I would say, in both of these games. But again, he just has to do it. There are no more chances for him now, as it would be horrible to be relegated 2 seasons in a row in GM. But it hasn't happened yet, so let's see the game of your life, Lamby.
Gonna start off with the Quest Rogue first, which I feel on average should get the early board a bit more consistently than the Paladin does, especially with this opener from Lamby, which does look like it's not playing the quest until turn 3, I think. The Spy Mistress into Coin Magic kind of works out nicely. If at any point you get the Greyheart stage, you are very, very happy. But the thing is, if you don't start out with the SI part of your deck, your quest is doing literally nothing, so there's no rush to play it immediately. But Gur does end up with a 1-drop here, which is a big deal. Not that Lamby is going to unstealth the Spy Mistress anytime soon, but with this pickup of an SI card, he's at a crossroads now.
Yeah, things got a lot more interesting. I was definitely interested in Quest Coin 3 into 3. Obviously, you can decide which one when you come to that juncture. That is obviously an interesting top deck for Gur. His opponent hasn't played the quest, but they do have the coin. So I don't think that you are going with Oh My Yogg here. I'd much rather get the Hand of Adal down and make it so that the dagger can't clear off my 1 health minion on the following turn. But it's just something to bear in mind. That Oh My Yogg could get some pretty sick work done.
I agree. And this turn is kind of complicated for Lamby again, because this is the perfect board you want to play Operative onto, but he hasn't gotten the quest done yet, so he'd be wasting an SI proc if he had done that. So it's going to be Mankrik instead, which again leaves turn 3 a little bit awkward, right? Because still, you don't want to play Operative without the quest. But we'll get there later. For now, Gur also has a bit of an awkward turn of his own where the on-curve play is wasting its draw potential if he doesn't play Secrets. So here we go. There's the Yogg down. And if he plays both, Lamby 100% knows how to play around it ideally, right? So he's just going to play the Yogg and potentially force Lamby to waste a spell here. And that's a much better wasteable spell, I think. Or is it?
Sure.
It's an SI card. Yeah, he's going to test with Shadow Step instead. That's fair. Oh my god, he ends up with Prep! It's
Prep Quest! Prep Quest! Hello!
Wait, that's just better than Shadow Step here.
That's so sick! World first, Prep Quest. Oh my goodness.
Did he miss an attack with Mancrik?
No, that was the first thing he did. He attacked into the token, right?
Oh, the token, my bad. Yeah. Okay, Cariel into Mancrik rather than the 2-4 because it does also potentially get a value trade on Cariel, but the Extortion plus SI7 agent, very clean here for Lamby. Things are looking good. Gur's mid-game curve is not very clean at all. He has had so few Libram discounts at the moment that the hope is far away. He can get Galloping plus Northwatch down.
Yeah, you could start by trading City Tax, I suppose, but now that you've got the Libra of Justice in hand, I'd honestly rather just have that in my hand to give yourself a guaranteed clear on turn 7, or even next turn if you can top deck Aldor Attendant off the draw, which is huge.
Oh, that's a terrible top deck for Lamby at this point in the game, though. You only want to see SI cards and Secret Passage, essentially. But it's fine. He can continue along with the game plan of just maintaining board presence. This is only 2 cards played, so he is free to just dagger here and not proc the horse. This Noggin Fog generator is not the greatest one for the situation. But maybe if he's desperate enough where you just need 1 threat with stealth, it can come in handy later.
So for Gur, you can either accept what is almost entirely a dead turn by going Sword of the Fallen Hero power, or at least a very weak turn, or you can go with the board clear on this turn. The problem is that this is actually a way to kill off a stealthed Scabs later on, and one of the few decks that can actually do that in the metagame right now. Is it worth saving it for that, or do you need to prioritize early tempo?
I was going to say, I really like getting rid of the board here because you just curve so cleanly into Libram of Hope and then even Liadra in the next turn for not that much value, but like my thinking here was get rid of the board. They're never playing Scabs next turn, too far away on the quest. So this 8/8 is likely to at least challenge a couple minions, and then even when the Scabs comes down, maybe he has that taunt. That line of play is a bit weak to the SI7 Assassin, though, to be fair, going all in on that 1 Libram of Hope. So Gur is just going to hold out for a bit longer. He does have that safety of healing with the Libram and the City of Tax. City of I wouldn't want to live there. The City Tax. So I think he's just using his health total as a resource here.
Ooh, that's not bad. Obviously, you're afraid of the horse on this turn, but you start with Swindle, see what happens. Secret Passage as well, and the Greyheart. Okay, insta-proc the horse. Who gives a damn about that? You can just kill it off right now. Whoa!
Oh, wow.
He's in it!
Everything. Well, he's in it for sure with this board, and Gur's going to be happy he held on to the board clear with this outcome. But the thing is, after that board clear, Lamby just has 2 more SI cards and the Secret Passage. The threats are back-to-back from this point.
Yep, you swing first, and then you're going with the clear on this turn. Oh, wow, he's...
Or not. Dang.
Really?
He's just determined to hold this for Scabs, it feels like. But if Lamby has Assassin here, he's just getting enough damage even prior to Scabs.
Oh, you're just going insta-passage here, right? If you go Skulker, that means you've played 4 quest pieces, so the SI7 Assassin is still very playable off the passage.
Oh,
you can just hit the sap! Oh my goodness!
That's nuts. He gets so much extra damage here, even prior to having played a Scabs. He will be aware of the possibility of the board clear, but I think it's fine to commit all these minions because he has passage to very likely find the last SI7 piece, play the scabs the next turn, or maybe even that turn if you get something cheap enough, and just keep moving with the next wave.
So sick. Obviously, Gura cannot afford to just go Lady Liadrin on this turn, right? Does need to put something more impressive down. Samuro does, I suppose, mean he can actually get a body on board and potentially trade the city tax at that point, right?
I don't know if the Samuro as a body is relevant enough. Honestly, you're just really sad that it doesn't have any buff on it here because right now it's kind of redundant. He doesn't need both Samuro and city tax, or he can use those together potentially and clear everything but the Mancrick, hold on to Libram of Justice. But I don't think that's worth it.
So what's
you're not getting rid of the biggest threat anyway. I kind of like the trade city tax line.
Oh, wow.
And just go Libram, Samuro, use that as the board clear.
Yeah, I think I agree.
It is super close, though. The city tax also affords him that 5 healing, which might be relevant.
True. Yeah. The Ancient Guardian hand obviously does not heal him when it's played. It's just an 8/8 Taunt Divine Shield, which is still good, of course.
There is an argument to holding the Libram of Justice and going Samuro City Tax, like I said, just to have the Libram of Justice to answer scabs. But the thing is, it's not a full answer, right? It still requires another City Tax, because even a 9/1 stealth is dealing a bunch of damage.
And yeah, I guess after Lady Liadrin, the Samuro becomes a lot better, because you have the ability to buff it up with the Hand of Adal as well. Yeah. Here we go. Couple of ways to complete the quest on this turn. SI7 Extortion does allow him to play scabs on the same turn, but actually so does the Assassin here, which is a little interesting, right?
But you can't also play the Stealth if you play the Assassin, right? On scabs, I mean. So
sure, yeah.
If you're playing scabs, you 100% want to stealth that right away, even though you just saw Libram of Justice. Just get rid of every worst case scenario from this point, because Lamby's got quite a lot of value this turn. And I reacted because last turn we had the possibility to see world's first mini mage Greyheart Sage combo.
True.
The original hand. Oh, he's actually not playing the stealth. Okay.
Okay.
Not Justice. Anything but that.
Libram of Wisdom, that is fine. That comboed with the Samuro, even then, does not clear off the scabs.
There is a world where he just plays the Ancient Guardian, but that world is very flimsy because Lamby has another sap effect in the Fizz Flash Distractor. Lady Liadrin at the moment gives him another Libram of Hope, another Libram of Wisdom, I think, and a Hand of Adal.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Not great. You won't get the Libram of Justice back because it's not a targeted spell, unfortunately, or not a minion targeted spell.
Well, I don't even think he actually gets back the Libram of Wisdom. I think the other one's still in the deck at this point. Yeah.
Well, now he does because he played it because Gur's smart.
You were right all along. No Wind Fury effect, but Secret Passage does make things interesting. We're looking at, what, 12, 5 damage from the Wicked Stab if you want to factor in the burst as well, so 17, 20 damage? It's close.
13, yeah, it is very, very close. Now, if you don't go Passage here, you still have the opportunity to draw cards, right? With the Mini Mage and Greyheart Sage. I think that's pretty strong. Oh! He's stealthing at first, so he's just not attacking with, or like if you go this order, you might not attack with scabs this turn, but he went with the Battlegrounds Battlemaster, found it, gets rewarded for the order, and there you go. Man, Lamby's into taking these calculated risks today. Last time didn't work out. This time absolutely did pay off.
Yeah, worked an absolute charm for him there. And still, Gia, the hope is alive, bringing Quest Rogue of all decks in your final week when everything is on the line. Thankfully for him, it worked out, looking very, very powerful in that particular matchup, and does mean now that it all comes down to the Druid versus the Paladin. As we can see here, well played by lambyseries. Getting that prep was so clutch as well at the end. But even with that nonsense aside, how are we feeling against this final game with the Druid against the Paladin?
Not great as the Druid, I want to say, because even though you did bring up some good points a while ago about the Soul of the Forest being a 2-of can be very, very effective versus Paladin, the fact that you're not doing anything in the early game, whereas Paladin can start playing their Libram discounters, if they hit their half of the deck, that is the early game minions, Hand of a Doll, can put together damage really, really quickly, and the secrets are super disruptive against Druid. Oh My Yogg in particular can be a backbreaker, so I'm not sure Lamby gonna have to put together a, I don't want to say miracle, it's not that unfavored, but I do think he'll have to take some risks as he's been doing all throughout the series so far.
Very clean list, all 2-ofs and just one Claw Machine, one Anaconda. We've seen Claw Machine obviously spread like wildfire across both Asia Pacific and the other regions as well. All thanks to our boy Surrender here in the APAC region getting this list down first. And although, you know, we were kind of skeptical at first, clearly the players have done a lot of testing and it's worked out for them just because of the sheer power of Lady Anaconda when it does come down.
I think the reason I don't like Claw Machine is I've always sucked at those crane games in every RPG. I don't think I've ever won anything from it, or maybe like a tiny toy that is worth even less the coin you put in to get it.
I suck at them so much. One of my trips to Taiwan, I think I spent like an hour and like actually a good amount of money just trying to win one thing because my Hearthstone mentality was taken over. It's like, okay, I can't end on a loss. Just one more go.
It's a scam. Yet again, we can relate to the guy in Squid Game episode.
Exactly. Yeah, I need that. That kid didn't come up to me in that. I didn't have my Rainmaker of Claw game. But either way, for lambyseries, he's getting himself a reasonable starting hand here, right? Guess the weight pretty good. Obviously, Claw Machine to get him Anaconda as well. Kind of interesting to see the nature studies on turn 1 when your turn 2 looked like it was spoken for already.
Yeah, I'm a bit interested by that. Maybe Lamby is just trying to potentially hit another nature studies from the Guess the Weight, or he just wants to have as much discover done as soon as possible, accepting that he might float mana. This is getting real interesting now because Gur also 3-kept for himself 2 Libram discounters, like the best ones to have, you know, one of each of, and he also has Oh My Yogg Northwatch Commander. Potential disruption, but if Lamby can just get to, I guess, turn 6 safely with this curve, right? You can go Anaconda, Bloom, Germination. By then you've probably drawn a Nourish and pop the heck off.
Oh, lambyseries hands together in prayer. This is so tense, and Gur has drawn pretty much the absolute nuts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 curve, and with secrets for disruption along the way as well. How does Lamby even play around this? You can start Lightning Bloom, sure, and if it gets hit with the Oh My Yogg, that's great. But if it's the Galloping Savior, that's terrible because you're overloaded for no purpose then. Guess the Weight gets hit. Lunar Eclipse is the outcome, though. Not bad. Not bad.
And he's been getting these good outcomes from Oh My Yogg. Yeah, that's not bad. I mean, obviously, there's no spell he can really use to get the full value out of the Lunar Eclipse right now, but just clearing a minion is fine. That's what Druid would rather do in this situation, honestly. Because, again, it's turn 6 for Lamby that we're looking for, because then he can go Anaconda, Bloom, Germination, try and do all the powerful things. Meanwhile, though, Gur not going to make that easy. He has access to Cariel on curve, which is you know, pretty powerful against Druid. It's just tough for them to clear. They have to expend hero power and Lunar Eclipse a lot of the time, although there's access to Sword of the Fallen to continue the disruption if he would rather value that. From Gur's perspective, Lamby might have had Overgrowth in hand and was forced to deviate because it was a secret in play at that time for Gur, so he can continue potentially disrupting it if he can hit Oh My Yogg again with Sword of the Fallen, but I don't know if that's worth the risk. I'd potentially prefer, I think, personally, I'd prefer Cariel just to get the curve rolling.
I think so too. The problem is that if you're not playing Sword in this turn, you're really not playing it next turn, are you? Truth Seeker is so juicy to go for, and
You can do it now!
off the top for Lamby means that he could go Anaconda, Germination, Arbor up.
Yes.
Is that enough, though? It's obviously incredibly powerful, but it's answerable. That is potentially within Gur's wheelhouse to clear, and he can't play the Cenarian Ward on the same turn.
Clearable is a strong word here. It is justiceable, but Gur is only going to be on 5 mana this next turn with 1 Libram discount plate. So he's not actually got access to Libram of Justice and City Tax all in one turn. So I was inclined to take the risk there because Lamby was going to end up with 5 minions with that play, right? But here, he is going to hold back a little bit, try and find the Nourish or another Germination, something like that. Just goes for Arbor up here. And now Aldor Truthseeker is in place, so it's getting even more tense, right? Because with this discount from this point onward, Gur does have access to the City Tax plus Libram of Justice combo mana-wise.
Wondering whether he should even trade here or just start launching everything to the Dome. I do feel like you're trading with at least Cariel here, just because buffing up boards again does look pretty scary if they have another Arbor up.
Oh, sorry, I misspoke. Because the Cariel can attack, Gur technically could have cleared the board even last turn if he had Libram of Justice in hand, right?
Oh, true. Yeah, good point.
Yeah, it would have gone down to 3 mana by that point.
Yeah.
Oh, Claw Machine. Lamby's holding out. He's not under that much pressure, to be fair.
Well, the fact that it didn't draw gives Gur all the information that he needs now at this point. And now, finally, Sword of the Fallen is going to be coming down, right? You can trade City Tax, I suppose, but even that is questionable. And you really want the Yogg in play now.
Did you ever swing first before trading the City Tax? I guess it's negligible, the odds that it changes to draw the Yogg off of the City Tax. The question he should be asking is, what mana breakpoint do I want to leave myself? What's the best card he can get from the City Tax if you're aiming to play it here? Another Truthseeker potentially?
Yeah.
Maybe Northwatch Commander if you're trading that and playing Sword of the Fallen? Oh, man.
So close.
In it
so
goes.
Tense. Okay.
Kind of a brick. This turn is so slow.
Very slow.
Only 1 secret left. No, sorry. There's 1 Yogg, 1 Galloping left in the deck, right? So he's guaranteeing himself to get both right now.
Yeah, I like the order. And Lamby has so many good draws now. We're looking at, again, Nourish, Fungal Fortunes, Solar's pretty good. Another Cenarian is reasonable as well. Glowfly Swarm. Okay, you can start with...
Innervate, right? To proc the Omayog?
Yeah, I was wondering if you ever go with Luna. I don't know if you'd rather have Innovate in hand. I'm not sure what the breakpoints are going to be on the following turn.
But you're gonna lose the mana. Oh, are we not going in this turn?
Oh no, I think he's just going Glowfly is the point.
Oh, I see. Okay, I thought he was just gonna go in, but oh my gosh, the poison makes that so scary now.
How much damage is he looking at now? With Lady Liadrin, that gives +1 attack, so 9 with Liadrin. There's no Battle Master in the deck, so I don't think he's ever dead. It's like hand into Libram.
Yeah.
Into Libram of Justice. It's like,
it's so
Wisdom,
rare.
sorry. It's super niche.
Okay, fair enough. I'm on board. Glowfly, take the risk. Honestly, there's no time to do the Anaconda turn at this point, and you're going to pop the Galloping, so yeah. The Glowfly, if he had played it after Anaconda, was barely going to do anything, right, with all those spells. So I think it's fine to get the value from it right now while he can. But for Gur, I don't think the swing gets him anything anymore, right?
No. So Knight of Anointment can obviously get him Libram of Hope, which would be playable. It's exactly 6 mana, right? Which I'm obviously very interested in. Alternatively, just Liadrin? Yeah, it's not especially likely.
But the Liadrin herself is not even pushing that much damage, so...
Right.
Kind of into the Knight of Anointment. There's a couple bricks there, like the Libram of Justice is not particularly strong here, but having that in hand into an Anaconda turn and he knows that's in hand, I feel like is pretty valuable. And he hits the hope, though.
Hope, that's so clutch.
That's huge.
The one thing Lamby didn't want to see, and now it has to be go time, right? He's facing so much pressure on the other side. He wants card draw. He wants anything that can go with this Anaconda, because this is the turn.
It's the only turn, Derek. And that is a nourish off the top! Oh my gosh!
That's so
I've
sick.
never done anything better with this graphic interface before. Yeah, and he knows this is not Oh My Yogg now, so here we go. Anaconda, Nourish costs 0. He can draw more card draw. He can draw Cenarian Ward number 2. He can draw pretty much the whole deck if it's ordered right.
Oh, Solar Cenarian.
Oh. Germination again!
Okay.
I think you might just germinate the 8-drop rather than
Agreed.
another Anaconda.
Yeah.
So first you make some board space. Yup. So Solar Cenarian here.
Correct. That's the good ordering.
Oh my gosh, Derek, this one's so close. Gur also has McGurgle. Oh my god! He hit the Deviant Dreadfang so that he's gonna get 4-2 rushes here with every nature spell played. And guess what, Derek? These are all nature spells in hand. It's a board clear on 8.
That's so sick.
He could copy the Dreadfang, but there's no board space to get all the rushes. But I mean, you probably just copy the Taint Heart, sure. Oh man. Oh my goodness.
I think he's done it. I don't think there's the clear available for Gur. Not with one draw. The Murlocs, there's nothing that's big enough off of McGurgle Prime.
This is insane. Okay, if he drew Libram of Justice here, I'm not sure how much it would... Okay, the Wisdom is at -1 right now, right? So that means there have been 3 discounts. So Libram of Justice would go down to 2 and then cost 6, which is not playable with City Tax. So even if Gur had the combination of the board clear here because of the 2 Taint Heart Tormentors, it was not playable. He does have a decent response of counter pressure, but Lamby, I think, has not yet lethal. It's 25.
16, 25, 26 with the hero power. Arbor up off the top, closes the game. Nourish gives him more chances at it. He's still got 2 fungals in the deck as well. It's so likely to hit lethal here.
And he just gets more rushes in the meantime. Yeah, Gur, just with a pose of resignation, it feels like. You can't blame him. Gur's had some bad beats throughout the first couple, or the recent couple weeks.
Yeah.
But honestly, I'm just happy for Lamby.
Still not over yet. As much as I agree with you, it's almost 100% done now, as he's just trading in snake after snake after snake. It's so powerful, all these rushes. I can't even believe the value he's got.
This is... that's lethal, right? Because we counted 25 a while ago, so Pharaoh Rage here. Oh, no, did he trade any attacking minion already? I'm not sure.
I don't think so. I think Feral Rage Hero Power does get him the win, right?
Okay, well, there you have it. Whether it was going to be Lamby playing spells just to clear the board essentially for free because he generated this Deviant Dreadfang, or it was him just getting the straight up lethal, one way or another, Gur had no way back into this game. Lamby with a pop-off, well deserved, man. He stays in for another series, not relegated. For Gur though, man, I feel bad looking at his camera as well.
Oh, I feel bad, but let's go, Lammy. That was so sick. What a way to stay in Grandmasters at the end. I honestly cannot believe it. Like, waiting turn after turn after turn, teasing us with those Druid hands, like playing out the claw machine for no draw, getting the different outcomes of Oh My Yogg that allowed him to stay alive, like the Nitro boost as well that almost felt like it sealed his fate in losing by giving his opponent an extra attack buff. So well played by lambyseries, waiting for that one perfect time to go in, and he was rewarded with it. My man is safe for another series. I don't want to say guaranteed 100% to stay in Grandmasters. Again, things are very, very close around that 9 to 10 point break point, but he has a chance now in what was one of the coolest series I've seen in a very long while.
It was. Hats off to Gur as well. That one was very back and forth. Well fought. I think Gur was also very aware of breakpoints in terms of mana, the discounts you can get from Cariel, for example, and he did take a fair amount of risks as well. We were recommending board clears, particularly on the Shaman game, was it? Or the Quest Rogue game, that he didn't go for early enough, holding on to try and beat away Scabs. And the turn where he did get the big tidal wave clear was very well navigated. That's a series worthy of week 7, Derek.
Oh yes, I think Gur is